Love lives here.
So, you ready? All right, so we're going to break the habit today. Just today. And tomorrow, and we're just going to break the habit, and we're going to break the habits, right? Earlier this week when I sent you the email, I asked you, have you ever driven someplace and then gotten there and wondered, how in the world did I end up here, right? Like, I don't even recall. The last thing I remember is I left my house, and now I'm at the center. Don't know what happened in between, right? When I used to drive back and forth from Vegas to San Diego for school, for ministerial school, 5 hours would just I had no recollection of where they were. I swore my car just knew the way. It was on autopilot and I was just there and it was just taking me there, right? And then when I was commuting back and forth between Vegas and here that first year, every Saturday afternoon, I magically appeared in Riverside, and every Tuesday evening, I magically reappeared in Las Vegas, and I have no recollection as to how in the world I got there. There's a chair here, though, for you, Corey, so there you go. All right, so it's just and what that is that is a matter of habit. We just get into our habits, we get into our routines, we start living life on autopilot. So where in your life are you living on autopilot? Oh, and the air just got sucked out of the room. Right? Folks that are at home, where in your life are you living on autopilot, right? Where have your habits and your routines kind of taken over your life? Now, habits and routines are not necessarily bad things, so I don't want you to think that a habit or a routine or even autopilot is a bad thing. However, I will say that habits and routines, autopilot if you will, either serve or sabotage your life, your dreams, and what it is, your vision, whatever it is that you're wanting to experience, right? They either serve or they sabotage. There's plenty of room here, Martha. You can sit with Earl. You can sit up here. You can sit over here. Lots of room. So, they either serve or your habits either serve or sabotage. Would you agree with this? Can you think of some habits that are currently maybe sabotaging your wildest dreams? Oh, yes. All right. Can you think of some habits that are currently serving your wildest dreams? Yes. Mm-hmm. Or do you have some wild dreams, maybe, right? Your goals. Let's put it with your goals. So brushing your teeth, right? Brushing your teeth every night, is a good habit, right? It's a really good habit. It's not a habit that we would want to break, correct? However, eating a box of Girl Scout cookies before brushing your teeth might be a habit that you would want to break. Maybe. And again, why, right? Roxanne goes, why? I don't see that that's being a bad thing. Again, it's either serving or sabotaging, right? So the reason we're talking about this today is we're talking about core concept number 7 of the 10 core concepts for Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind, whatever you want to call it. That we're talking about the 10 core concepts. And the 10 core concepts, number 7 of the 10, talks about the reciprocal universe. Oh, and I could hear you, it's what in the world? Yeah, we're not going to talk about that part today, okay? So just breathe. It's all right. All right? A more common way that you might think of a reciprocal universe is mental equivalence. I hear a few, and still that's it's not juicy, is it? No. All right. How about this one? Law of attraction. Oh, okay. Now I know what we're talking about. All right. So basically, core concept number 7 has to do with the law of attraction, meaning that what we put out into the universe does what? it returns. We are magnets. We are magnetized. We are magnetic individuals, that what we put out, we attract to us. Yes? All right. So we know from all of the we've been talking about in the creative process that if what we're putting out is what we are attracting, then if we are putting things out habitually, that means unconsciously, then we are also creating and manifesting and demonstrating, or whatever you want to call it, we are also doing that unconsciously. Would you agree? Again, not necessarily good or bad, but serves or sabotages, right? So if we are habitually thinking about, here's how this works. If we are habitually thinking about thoughts of poverty, thoughts of failure, thoughts of loneliness, thoughts of helplessness, what is that putting out into what kind of energy, what kind of feeling is that putting out into the universe? Lack, sadness, loneliness, struggle, right? And so that's kind of what's putting out. And remember, the law doesn't care what we put into it, right? Doesn't care whether it's a watermelon seed or a banana plant. Does not care, right? So if we're putting this out, then what are we getting back then? More of the same stuff, right? We're kind of still getting back the loneliness. We're still kind of getting back the sadness. We're still kind of getting back the lack, right? That's what we're getting back. Conversely, if we are habitually thinking or have this thought pattern, the propensity of thoughts, is like to say, if we're continuously having the propensity of thoughts of peace, of love, of joy, of happiness, of gratitude, right? Then, or abundance, achievement, then what are we getting back? Peace, joy, abundance, achievement, right? Those things that perhaps we consider beneficial, right? So it is our habitual thinking that gets in there, and that is like our unconscious programming, right? It's like, it's just operating in the background. Like this operating system, the iOS operating system in my computer is just operating in the background. It's doing its thing in the background. It's doing what it's supposed to do in the background. So our habitual thinking has usually become unconscious, and our habits have usually become unconscious. That's why they're a habit, right? They've kind of become unconscious. That's what allows you to drive from your house to the center and not know how you got here. That it's a habit, right? And so you're just on autopilot, you're just getting here. So you're experiencing the same thing that you have been experiencing up until this point. Good, bad, and different. Yeah? All right. So Ernest Holmes says that conscious thought is more powerful than unconscious thought. However, it's our unconscious thought that's operating all the time. So one would want to argue that really it's our unconscious thought that's more powerful than our conscious thought. But that's not the case, is it? Because once we realize that, I've gone unconscious. Not like, right, just glassed over. Or I'm not fully present with where I am in my life at this moment. I'm not fully present whether I'm on Brockton or I'm on Magnolia or I'm on Fairmont, right? I'm not present with where I am, right? I've kind of gone unconscious. When I've gone unconscious, then things just continue to move, and I'm not paying attention. I'm no longer paying attention. However, when I start to pay attention, I realize, hey, I'm on Brockton. Wow, there's a lot of folks at the school today, at Central today. I wonder what's going on there. It's a Sunday. That's weird. What are they doing there? I wonder if they're having a fair or something, right? Wow, there's a lot of cars in that parking lot there. Oh, I wonder what's going on there. Wow, nobody's at the hospital today. Cool. Right? I mean, I'm paying attention now to what's going on, what's happening in my life. I'm paying attention to the road. I'm paying attention that nobody's in line at Del Taco, right? If I wanted to pull into Del Taco, I could. I didn't. I don't. But I could, right? Because that then changes the trajectory of what I'm doing, right? Because I'm now awake, I'm now conscious, I'm now no longer operating in habit. I'm paying attention to where I am paying attention to what is happening in my life. I'm paying attention to my thoughts and ideas and possibilities, and I'm looking with different eyes, and all of a sudden there are more possibilities than the old habit of getting here and not knowing how in the world I got here, right? So this is why your conscious thoughts are more powerful than your unconscious thoughts, because your conscious thoughts have the ability, and you have the ability when you are conscious and awake and having conscious thought, you have the ability to interrupt the unconscious habits, the unconscious thinking, the unconsciousness with which you've been living your life, the autopilot with which you've been living your life, and you're able to make choices. The minute you're able to make a choice, what? Empowerment, right? It doesn't have to continue to be this way. You can make a change, you can make a difference by changing your behavior, that's one way, and changing your belief, that's another way. So when we talk about transformation, when we talk about breaking habits and forming habits, then usually we want to replace one with another, right? Or that's usually what happens. So if we approach things from an external point of view, so we're going to change the behavior. That's the external point of view. First, I'm going to change the behavior. All right, so I am not going to eat a box of Girl Scout cookies before I go to bed, right? I'm going to change the behavior. I'm going to eat them at, after breakfast instead. No. It's a change of behavior, right? Still not doing what I want it to, right? So instead of eating a box of Girl Scout cookies, I'm not going to eat a box of Girl Scout cookies before I go to bed. So I stopped that, right? Girl Scout cookie season is now over. They're all gone. So I have a glass of water instead. Not nearly as satisfying, but healthier. Yeah. Okay? So what I've eliminated is that I've begun eliminating the Girl Scout cookies, and I began introducing the water. All right? You see that? So eliminate the one that's not serving and integrate the one that is serving. Embrace the one that is serving, right? But it's still an external thing. This is still external. So that external change is only going to get me so far. It's only going to get me so far. Because without the belief behind the behavior, without the change of belief, without the change of thinking, without the change of motivation behind the behavior doesn't always stick. Why do you think gyms are full in January and by February they're a ghost town, right? It's that same reason, right? Oh, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. Yeah, I'm comfy on my sofa. Maybe walk the dog, maybe. You got a big front yard, go. Right? Whereas when we change the belief that's behind it, or the reasoning, or the why behind the activity, when we begin to look at the belief, what is the driving factor? What is the motivating factor? When we begin to look at that, when we begin to look at our thinking, when we begin to look at our beliefs, and we question, why is it that a box of Girl Scout cookies brings me so much comfort at 8 o'clock at night? When I begin to look at that, or when you begin to look at that, when we begin to look at that, right? Then we see that, it's nostalgia from my childhood. It's a comfort food. It feels nourishing. It feels like a sweet treat. Ah, I love the minty taste because as far as I'm concerned, there's only one kind of Girl Scout cookie, Thin Mints. But I love the minty taste, right? It's fresh. I was like, So the belief is, oh, wait, even further. My mom used to give me these cookies when it was treat time before we would go to bed. Not blaming you, Mom. I love them. Not blaming you. But I remember when I was in first and second grade, before we would go to bed, we'd get a glass of milk, a small glass of milk, like small, a glass of milk, and then just a little treat, right, before we went to bed. This is a habit that I have had since I was 6 years old that I didn't necessarily install. So now it's like I want a cookie, and with a little lack of self-control, a box of cookies. Right? But what it is it's hearkening back to this feeling loved, this feeling nurtured. What did I make that mean? That little habit. Oh, I made it mean that, I'm a good boy. This is something that's really sweet. This is really nurturing for me to go, get ready to go to bed. That's why dogs like their treats just before you go to bed too, right? Because we do the same thing, right? So it's just, that's what it is. Well, now that I know that, this pattern is rooted 51 years ago, I can now do something about it that's different. I can now have a treat, but maybe I want to treat myself to something else. Maybe I want to treat myself to a nice, tall, cold, ice-cold glass of water. Or maybe I want to treat myself to a decaf coffee. Maybe I want to treat myself to going out with the dogs and just getting fresh air right before we go to bed, right? Maybe I could do something different that will support what I really want in my life, which is to be healthier. That's one of the things, right? I'm already brushing my teeth. So why not get some fresh air too? Forgo the cookies. Because what it was really about, right, was that comfort, that self-nurturing, that winding down, that ritual of love, of nurturance. So I have the opportunity to love and nurture myself and love and nurture my inner 6-year-old even, right? And then the new habit takes place. Because once I have that belief interrupted that this is the only way I can feel love or the only way I can, or how I've associated it with it, that this is a strong motivator, once I've realized that, this is what it is that I'm getting from this experience, I then can consciously change the experience. And I change the way I'm thinking about the experience, am I not? So when I change the way I'm thinking about the experience and I change the behavior, both, then the habit sticks. The belief sticks. And what then happens is we begin to replace the belief that was, or the habit that was not serving us with a habit that does. We replace the habit that was sabotaging us with the habit that serves us. And once we replace the habit that serves us, then, hey, yeah, autopilot, right on, take over. Because now my habitual thinking, my habitual pattern is a self-nurturing practice that is actually self-nurturing. And I'm moving in a direction that I want, so that it happens that the glass of water and getting fresh air with the dogs becomes the new thing that is supporting me and becomes the automatic thing that I don't have to think about, that I can just be fully present for the experience with. Tracking? Making sense? Yeah. So some of it is about motivation. I stopped biting my nails when I was in 7th grade. Because Michelle, my sister, when she would get mad at me, she used to grab onto my arm like this and dig her nails into my arm, right? This is, siblings, right? Dig her nails into my arm. And I was like, fine. this is going to come to a screeching halt. I was motivated. Like, I'm going to let these puppies grow, and then you will know that this is not okay. One time, and there it was, and I broke the habit, right, of the nails. Sometimes, when you're a kid, it's just that simple. The motivation is just that simple, right? I want you to be thinking about what spiritual tools. This is one of your questions today, and we're going to move to tables here in just a second. But I want you to be thinking about one of your spiritual tools that you can use to help break habits. In 2008, I had just ended a long-term relationship, and I was living in Vegas. Didn't really know very many people, and Vegas is a weird city in that it's one of the one places that you're just like, oh, what's today? Oh, it's my Friday. Oh, well, it's my Tuesday, right? And that's how we talk, because it's not a Monday through Friday kind of town, right? And so trying to make friends and trying to you can make friends at work, but then having the same days off to try and go do something was extremely difficult, right? So it was difficult for me to make friends. I was in a new city. I was missing my spiritual community, and I was getting into a really negative space, circling the drain, right? So I finally decided to walk through the doors of Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas. And I found a community right away. One, the music was killer because, Eddie Watkins Jr., for those of you who know, was our music director, right? So, the music was killer. And what I started doing was I would attend when I could. I began taking some classes. But what I really started doing is every time I would hear a song like we hear, I would run to the bookstore that we had at the time and say, what song was that? What CD is it on? And I would purchase the CD. And for 3 years straight, in the car, I only listened to New Thought music. I only listened to positive music. This was the habit that I was changing. I was only listening to this positive music. Wasn't listening to the radio, not listening to anything else, just this positive music. Lo and behold, 6 months in, definitely a year in, not really changing much else, all of a sudden the demeanor was shifting because I was inundating my brain, inundating my psyche, inundating my consciousness with upbeat, positive music that was like affirmation after affirmation after affirmation after affirmation. And my friends started going, there's something different. Like, yeah, I'm listening to this really great CD by Eddie Watkins Jr., who at the time nobody knew, right? Or I'm listening to this really great CD by Ricky Byers-Beckwith, because she was a Beckwith at the time. But I'm listening to these really great CDs, Karen Drucker. And it's just, every day. Every day, right? Right? I would just listen and listen and listen. I'm like, oh, this is how it's changing. So I was changing my internal atmosphere and my external atmosphere at the same time. This external positivity that I was bringing in was changing my internal activity. And the more my internal environment changed, the more my external was changing, right? It's breaking the habit. Breaking the habit of the stinking thinking, breaking the habit of the limiting beliefs, and breaking the habit of the limiting behaviors. You can start either with the behavior or you can start with the belief. But without both, there is no change. Okay? All right, so I want you to take a nice deep breath. Let it out. There's a habit for you, right? We're going to go to tables for the next 20 minutes, and I invite you to discuss the 3 questions that you see on the tables and on the screens. Your 3 questions are, which of your habits are getting in the way of your life, or the life that you desire, and which ones support it? What habit have you broken, and how do you do it? It could be a simple habit, like stop biting your nails, right? And how'd you do it? I grew them out so that I could seek revenge. Now, that wasn't altruistic, but, it worked. and what spiritual practices can help you with habitual thinking and how. And begin. If you want to break the habit, first you got to do what? You got to identify the habit. Once you identify the habit, what is the underlying belief? What is the thing that is holding the habit in place? Once you've understood what's holding the habit in place, feel how you're feeling about it. What is the feeling that's related to it? What is the benefit of the habit? And then switch it out. Switch it out. Identify it. What is the underlying belief? Start switching it out. Switch out the belief, switch out the behavior. Remember, behavior and belief, both, if you want to create a new habit, if you want to be on an autopilot that is going to get you to where you want to go, rather than taking you off course. All righty, Didey? Sounds good? Yeah. All right, and so it is. All right. So let's just come together in consciousness right here, right now. I recognize that there just is this one life, this one power, this one presence, this one infinite eternal that is moving through all, as all, and absolutely is all. In the beginning was the one, and all that was created is a manifestation, an impartation, a beautiful demonstration of this magnificence of this one life, this one power, this one presence. That right where I am, that right where we are, the power and the presence is. It lives, moves, breathes, and has its being in, through, and as all of us and all of life and all of creation. For we are inseparable from this one life. We are inseparable from this one power, this one presence, the Spirit that is all that there is, the love that is all that there is. And so I recognize here and now that this beloved community, speaking my word for this beloved community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, that we choose to live consciously, that we choose to open our mind, unify our individualized minds with the divine mind, the one mind, open and to the receptivity, open to the consciousness, to live consciously, to make choices consciously, to begin to lay down new habits, new ideas, new thoughts that are in support of and in alignment with the divine idea, the high idea, the vision for our lives. That we say yes to it, that we are willing to release those things that no longer serve us, that we are willing to release those habits that have been limiting us, those habits that have been holding us back, those habits that have been sabotaging our good. We release them now back into the nothingness from which they came. And we say yes to our greater yet to be. We say yes to our greater expression. And we say yes to aligning ourselves with habits that support that, with behaviors and beliefs that support our greatest good. We say yes to the infinite of spirit. We say yes to the love, yes to the joy, yes to the abundance, yes to the power, yes to life, yes to spirit. And so I simply give thanks for it. Knowing it is already done, knowing it is already so, I release this word and I let it be, and so it is. So I invite everybody to stand and let us say this affirmation together. I break old habits. Now, say it like you mean it. I break old habits.
I break old habits.
All right, something wonderful is happening through me right now. There's this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my heart. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. I receive it. And I move love forward. Because love lives here.